Hello, my name's Roy Basnett and I am here in Podcafe, which is a recording studio for podcast purposes here in Liverpool, and we are delighted to be making a podcast for this man, Steve Panter. Steve, welcome to Podcafe.
Thanks very much, and thanks for having me.
We're here today to kind of start on a journey of a podcast that you want to do, and the podcast is called The Great in You. So for people who are certainly interested in the title, what can they expect from this podcast?
The reason it was from a friend of mine actually, called Colin. Colin Gallagher. I'll give him a name drop because he's a good guy. A mental health professional in Liverpool that I've become really good friends with. Used to work with, used to manage, but become really good friends. And we were talking about the podcast and talking about some names. 'Cause I think a name's important, isn't it? Obviously, I work for the Great Schools Trust, but what I wanted to do with this podcast was to kind of highlight the great and the good in people, and I've kind of looked at different podcasts and looked at people like Steven Panter and people like that, and I like the way that he approaches. He wants to talk to people, to learn from them, to learn more from them, to have that connection, and he's almost building from speaking to him his own expertise. So that's part of it. I want to speak to people that have a story to tell, that have got kind of a something that a story that they want to tell, if you like, based on their life experiences, based on their professional experience, and actually to celebrate some of those things as well. There's as we go forward with the podcasts, it's something that I really want to speak to, and I've got a whole list of some really interesting people that I've met along the way in safeguarding, in my personal life, people that have achieved things in the face of adversity. And I think that it's that combination of learning from people and then helping others by listening to the podcast to learn too.
Well, I think what the beauty of what you're going to be doing is that you will be speaking to those people who probably I don't think when you're a young person you overly think about where the future is going to take you. Some people might be driven at a very early age, but I would say the majority of people end up doing something completely different than what they might have originally thought back in their younger years.
Absolutely.
You're certainly no exception of it. I'm no exception of it. And I would imagine a lot of the people that are going to be joining you on this podcast probably fall into that category as well. Yeah, no, absolutely. And sometimes people fall into these roles. Sometimes people have got no choice. It happens to them. An absolutely horrific event that turns their life upside down. I want to be speaking to people, to professionals that deal with these types of issues. And I think when you work in this particular area, you meet some fantastic professionals that have just got these amazing work stories and experiences that they share with you. And I think that, not many people get to hear about them. And I think I'd like to maybe open it up to more people to hear about the great things maybe that some social workers do, to maybe to increase the awareness of what a police officer does and what they have to deal with and how that affects their personal life. To maybe somebody that's been involved in a horrific incident where they're a member of the family have been shot or killed or nearly killed. Well, that's the thing. You could turn around and you say, "Oh, I'm doing a podcast. Oh, I want to interview Tom Cruise. I want to interview Taylor Swift." And whereas you would obviously get a great story there, sometimes people that ain't even on the radar, these people you think, well, it might be a window cleaner, or something like that. I don't like to use the term, they might just be a window cleaner, because everybody has a purpose in life and we can't do without all aspects of society. But that person might have the story that would fill countless books. Just tell those stories, to listen to them, which is incredible. And as a result of that, the kind of people that you're going to be getting on the podcast, what do you hope people would want to get from listening and watching your podcast?
Just a sense of understanding adversity, understanding that things can happen to people, but people can quite often come out of the other side. And I think if people learn from other people's stories, I think that's a really positive thing. And I think that people will, once we do the series of the podcast, we might have a series of 50 or more, is that people will then pick out what they think that they will be interested in. But then, as I've done with different podcasts, you then go and start filling in the gaps to the things that maybe you're not into, because you like the actual series, you like the people that are, you like the content, and it's the ones that you maybe didn't think you'd like that surprise you, and people's stories and people, what they bring to that particular podcast. That's the surprise, that's the education, but that's kind of the gold, if you like, the nectar. I remember doing it myself with a few podcasts. John Bishop's podcast, 3 Little Words, was fantastic. But it's and what I like the idea of helping the people that come onto the podcast as well to talk, and I think it'll be therapeutic for them as well. And I think it's got that all-round feel of helping to educate me, helping me to kind of, ask those, those challenging questions, but also kind of people that are actually, on the podcast that are able to kind of express themselves and talk about it. I think they've got to be in a place where they're ready to talk about it. Yeah. And I think that what I'll do and what I'll obviously do my due diligence, if you like, when I'm speaking to people. What is off limits? What do you not want me to talk about? What is too personal for you to talk about? And almost getting into it with people. But such a wide, varied range of people as well I've got, and that's what I'm looking forward to. People that are kind of in sports as well, that have achieved things. People like, there's famous, a couple of famous sports people. I won't mention them yet because I haven't quite sealed the deal, but some of the things that they've experienced in the world of sport. But it'll always have that kind of safeguarding stroke mental health kind of aspect to it.
Do you know what I like about it, Steve, what you're planning on doing, is you just mentioned there that it's almost like a therapy session between both of you, because you're both getting something out of it. But equally so, you might have people who would be watching your podcast who are in need. We're not just talking about safeguarding in schools here. We're talking about people who might be in need of that talk therapy, if you like. They need to speak to somebody, and they haven't reached out yet to do it. And watching something like this might be thinking, well, if that's what it's like, I'll take the step. So it could be useful in that respect, couldn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And I think, what we haven't really mentioned, we've mentioned the participants and stuff, but the listeners are absolutely key. People that are going to watch and listen to these things.
Would you want? What kind of people would you target to be the person who'd listen to your podcast?
Do you know what? Anybody, young people, parents, older people that have experienced things and are not quite sure where to go and what to do. Like I said before, people will see that list of podcasts and be like, right, I can listen to this because I think this might help me or this might apply to me. Lots of people listen to these things for entertainment now, and for education, and to learn something. They might not know anything about, some of the people that I want to interview or their area of expertise, if you like. And that's why I want it's that mixture of professionals, but also people that have experienced things, because they're the experts in their experience. They're the experts of their family and their situation and what's happened to them. So it's not just about kind of professional people as well. It's about just having that, and I want people to be really interested and really listen to people's stories, because I think it can have a profound effect.
Oh, yeah.
And that I've wanted to do this for a number of years, and I work for a great trust now, and I'm kind of
Tell us about the trust. Tell us about the trust.
No, I will do. I work for the Great Schools Trust, and we're a trust of about 8 schools at the minute, but we're expanding all the time. And I've got a CEO and a director of education that are really supportive. And I've spoken to them about this idea, and they think, not only will it be good for the trust, it'll be good for me as a professional, because it's something that I want to do and develop, both personally and professionally. But also it'll be good for our citizens of the schools, if you like, and our staff and, anybody. I think if this can help, going back to your question, if this can help anybody, whether it's entertainment, whether it puts them at ease, whether it's educational, I think, I'd be really happy with that, and then we can start to get people's feedback and people's ideas and things like that. I've got an idea of these 50 people that I want to speak to, but then it could run on from that as well. We could do something different. We could have panels. We could have, things like that.
Are you one of these people waking up in the middle of the night when they've got an idea and I'm going to put that in the podcast, and then you can't get to sleep?
No, I'm not really. I'm the type of person where I'll think of something before I go to sleep. And then if I don't write it down, I'll forget about it in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
So I tend to put stuff on my phone and I'll sit there and think, oh, they'd be a fantastic person.
Yeah.
And I think in the area that I work in, you meet so many brilliant people. You might be at a conference and see somebody presenting and think, God, people have got to see this, And I think if you don't work in this area, you're privileged to see things sometimes and see speakers and watch people with expertise. The masses don't see that because they're not working in this area. And that's another reason to do this, is exposing people to people that they would never be exposed to before. But people that are listening to things like this will obviously have an open mind. So it's great, bring them in and get listening and get watching. Sorry, and I didn't answer your question properly, but the Great Schools Trust as well, I think have been really, great to me. So I think this is giving something back to them as well, and something that they can be proud of as well. Something that I'm hoping is going to develop, and people are going to be clamouring to come on, and one day I'll get my bosses on as well, and we'll have a chat through what we do and stuff. And I've even said to people in my team, I'll bring you. And some people, don't.
Do you know, it's amazing because I've come across this so many times where people say, no, that's not for me, not for me. And once you get them in this environment, because it's a peaceful environment as well, here. And it's amazing how many people will start to open up and talk about things. And that's really, really good.
Yeah. No, it is. It is. And that's what we want. We want people. And at the end of the day, we're sitting and we're having a conversation, and hopefully somebody's going to learn from it, and it's going to affect people in some way. I think what we'll try to do as well at the end of every podcast is provide some kind of links and resources and things like that. So it's not just about listening to the podcast. It's about, well, actually, as you see on TV, if you've been affected by this, here's some support. And obviously, if anybody wants to reach out to me as well and, feels moved by something that I've said or I've done or somebody else, then I'm sure we can help in some way as well. So again, it's that multifaceted approach really to kind of helping people, educating them, allowing people to tell the story, and therapeutic for them, but also, great for me as well. And I'm looking forward to, to bonding with these people for, even further. I've worked with them professionally and met them and stuff, but actually getting to know more about their story and, improving my skills as an interviewer as well,
It's well, as you say, every day is a school day. You learn something all the time,
and feedback's a gift as well.
Indeed, I think it's going to be tremendous. And Steve, thank you very much indeed for giving me the time to explain exactly what it is that you're going to be doing in the podcast. Now, it's called The Great in You. Steve is the man who's going to be fronting this up. It is going to be a podcast that's going to cover so many areas, and we're looking forward to producing it here at Podcafe. So thank you very much, Steve.
Cheers. Thank you.